All right, welcome back to the shipyard slash warp core breach slash, well, Nick and me hanging out.
Hello.
And hey, we got a new starter announced. Yeah,
Kapla.
this is fantastic. They,
Oh yeah.
I'm still a bit giddy on this. I mean, I may be a little more hyped because I'm still uh, energized from playing the First Contact cooperative mission as an OP.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to watch those streams later. I've been so busy going to the Calgary Stampede and some concerts this week. So
Yeah. Well, and I have recorded footage.
that
So
exactly.
we had 12 people playing in an OP.
Nice.
I was like, wait, what? This is madness, folks.
Oh, I love hearing about that. I really do. Anything that keeps us alive keeps the blood flowing.
Yes.
And
Well,
what better than the Star Trek Attack Wing Federation versus Klingon starter set?
indeed. So, so while we're on news, in looking
Mm-hmm.
at the solicits, the Wave 1 card packs now
Yeah.
say September.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another pushback from August. To the best of my knowledge, that is now a transportation
Mm-hmm.
delay. Like they're at the printer, everything coming through. This is just a matter of
Yeah.
shipping.
Yeah, and one thing to make sure everybody takes note at this stage in the game, everything's already designed, everything's been sent to the printer. So any delays this late in the game have nothing to do with WizKids, and they have no control over it. It's either printer issues, packaging issues, or delivery distribution issues. At
Right.
that point, it's out of WizKids' hands. So griping to them, nudging them, any communication to them about the situation is not going to have any impact, and it's not going to get us any information that's going to change anything.
What that does do is it sets up Wave 1 card packs and uh, Romulan Dominion faction packs to come out at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, which
Yes,
is actually a really good thing.
indeed. And one thing I definitely encourage everyone is, if you haven't done already, some deadlines have been passed, but ask your store to order them in for you, because the more pre-orders they get, the more they may manufacture, and at the very least, the more product that will hit our shelves.
Yes. Uh, yeah, and some of those order dates may be shifting because of some of the
Mm-hmm.
delays that are hitting. Obviously, we're not in the know on that, but
So don't quote us.
you don't quote us there. Explicitly don't quote us there. But uh, yeah, it is good stuff. And what that probably means is, actually, I can tell you for sure, Wave 2 has been pushed back to November for the card
Yeah.
packs, which is not unexpected at all.
I just want one new release soon. That's it. Just something to keep me going. And this announcement is a big help. Big, 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 big help. But we still want to see something tangible come through. And like I said, at this point, it's out of WizKids' hands. There's nothing they can do about it. It's a matter of just waiting and watching for it to land.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, so before we dive in too much more, we have a bit of royalty in the chat. We have the Wandering In Studios.
Hey, hey.
And we also have the newest addition to the Shipyard family. We have Alan Allison. He is our painting guru.
Our
So,
witch guru?
well,
I missed that.
sorry, Alan Allison is our painting guru.
Right, right, right.
So he's doing Painter's Corner, and really excited to have that on board.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first one.
I am jazzed to have painting on the Shipyard. I think, as I've talked to so many people, it's the sculpts in this game are good sculpts. They just need a little bit of TLC, and
Mm-hmm.
they are amazing.
And I can't wait for the deep cuts to arrive and see some videos and play around with that, because that will also enhance the detail.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like and without going too much sidetrack, but like I started off messing around with washes, and that did a ton. I've seen people do like just a little wash on the Hideki fighters, and that brings out so much detail on them.
Absolutely.
And it's all those little touches. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see what Alan, and I've got another fellow who's going to be doing some painting stuff, what they can bring and showcase these models to people that really have just taken a bad approach, a negative approach to the models in the game, and say, yes, you're right, but hey, with just a little bit of work, they can be fantastic.
Well, also consider that one of the stores I went through today was the Sentry Box in Calgary. Huge, wonderful store, and they've got one good section for Star Trek Attack Wing, but they also have a large rack loaded with the old Starfleet battles, Federation fleets, pewter ships.
Okay.
And back in those days, they were the bee's knees. They're awesome little ships and everything. But to today's standards, whether you're going by Micro Machines or WizKids, Attack Wing, or any of the currently available Star Trek minis, those ones are pretty ghetto in comparison. So you got to consider where we came from to get where we are today. Yes, there are still better options available, like if you want to bring up the X-Wing thing and all that, but we've still come a long way. They're light years better than what we had in the beginning, and it can hopefully only get better, especially with them pushing the deep cuts options.
You're right. And well, on that note, I did get a new Reliant repaint.
Nice.
And the silver on that one does look really good.
Pardon me. Mm-hmm.
It's I think that's one, while not canon, it looks significantly better than the baby blue of Wave Zero.
Right.
So it's that kind of love that does show that WizKids cares and that they want better for the game. Everything perfect? No. But art is very, very, very subjective.
Exactly.
Which I think brings us to our starter set. So we know this much. We are getting an Enterprise D.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting a Sutherland. We are getting the I forget what the name of the Vorchak class is. Do you have that handy?
The Kimpex Attack Cruiser.
Okay. Which means we should be getting Kimpek, a good
in
version
all likelihood.
And we are getting the Vorn, I believe.
The IKS Vorn. Yeah, it's a Cavort class.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you and I talked a while, and we said we really want to see the Vorn in this game.
Yes.
So that tells me this is kind of focused on the Klingon Civil War era.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about the timing there. The Sutherland is renowned for Klingon Civil War, Data in command.
Yeah.
That type of timeline. The Vorn was Duros's ship, I believe. And Kimpek was not in the Civil War, but the Chancellor, and then that whole debate between Gowron, Duros, Picard is the arbiter of succession.
He's who came before, right?
Yeah. That all spawned the Klingon Civil War.
Exactly.
So that's a really good timing in Star Trek history to start having some of these battles, to focus on Federation versus Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need the Romulans there yet.
Yeah. And like with the Nebula class and the Galaxy class having like a base for attack, one agility sort of thing, like they're kind of in that middle zone where unless you've got, weapons 3 or below or 5 or above, you're not really much of an option or a contender in most builds these days, thanks to like Type 8 upgraded and so on. So this makes me think that WizKids is going, we need to find a way to make the 4 PWV ships viable again.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that that's exactly what they're doing, and that we're going to get something both with possible price, like SP discounts, maybe some special abilities, or supporting cards, like supporting upgrades that will make those ships viable and valuable again.
I would certainly hope so. It
Indeed.
only seems natural.
Yes, because otherwise it would be a pointless include.
It would be.
Yeah.
Because the Sutherland that we have, and I just did a review on this, it's not a terrible ship, like in and of itself.
Well,
but
yeah.
when you start looking at it as a whole, you go, does it really hold up?
Indeed.
And the answer you kind of come to is it's a 4 attack 90 arc ship. Like, that's not very maneuverable.
No. Yeah, it's definitely lacking in a lot of areas, and it's one of my favorite TNG era Federation ships.
Oh, mine too. I love the
Yeah.
Nebula class.
Well, for one, I love the Miranda class, the Reliant from Wrath of Khan. Beautifully cool, epic, wicked ship, and this is the TNG version of it for all intents and purposes.
I may lose subscribers for what I'm about to say, but I'm okay saying it. I think I like the Nebula class more than the Defiant class.
Like aesthetically or other reasons? Right. Well, a lot of reason why people are, not as fond of the Defiant is because it throws out the book as far as standard Starfleet ship design,
which is great. Like,
I love the variety.
I enjoy the Defiant. I'm not bashing the Defiant when I say what I just said. It is, but there's something really cool about the Nebula class.
Yeah. The other reason why it wouldn't bother me to hear someone say that is because they're two completely different categories of ships. Like, it's apples and oranges. The fact that they are Starfleet ships doesn't really say enough to that. So it's like one's like a fighter escort, like a fighter in of itself.
Oh yeah.
It's an escort vessel, and the other one's a science exploratory vessel.
If I'm going to war, I want to be on a Defiant.
Oh, for sure.
And if I'm running a starship to try to do everyday life, I think I want a Nebula class. Well, now I probably want a Sovereign class, like in everything that we've seen. But in like the TNG era, I probably want a Nebula class. We'll see.
Indeed.
Some of these choices may be reflected in the Star Trek Adventures shows.
Yeah.
Anyways, that... Hey, Will, it's been fun. He said, instant unsub. I laugh. It's all good. So
one thing I want to go through real quick is in the solicit for the starter set, it also clarifies that you're getting the bases, pegs, maneuver dials with connectors, cards, dice, and tokens, which include the maneuver templates and range ruler. Okay. Whether or not it comes with like the planets and all that sort of thing, we can only assume it'll come with a damage deck. So, you need that to just play it out of the box. So we have to assume that.
Yeah.
So this is something that whether you've never played the game before, or you just want to have something different to pick up, or if you need an extra start and you've been reluctant to buy a second starter of the original one, this is an excellent opportunity to do so, because you'll get those extra pieces for that second player to have their own, or for a second table, depending on how you're thinking of it. And it's a reasonable price. You get 4 ships instead of the original 3, and everything you need to use them.
Yeah, and 45 MSRP US.
Yeah.
To clarify that for our Canadian and UK and Australian and other currency
German listeners, but Mexican and
everybody.
Yeah.
But the nice thing here is, I think so many people who maybe haven't bought the acrylics, their templates are probably worn out. This game is coming up on 4 years.
Yeah.
No,
Whether your dog sat on them, or if you spilled a drink on them, or if they just got caught between something and bent, or even just absorbing moisture from the air over the last near 4 years, they're going to expand, they're going to soften, they're not going to be precise like they used to be.
correct.
It's not like a laser cut acrylic or wood or whatever other hardened material that isn't going to change significantly over this period of time.
And
maybe you lost a couple of templates along the way. You have to keep borrowing your buddies.
I know people who've been through that. And the nice thing is you are getting an updated rule book in this, which is important. Because a lot of people will like having a physical copy of that rule book.
Yes, it does say it comes with a quick start rules booklet as well. It's not bolded. It doesn't say updated, so it may very well be identical to the old one. Yes. But the actual rule book itself is going to be the new updated format.
Well, and everything I've heard is that the rules aren't changing a ton, but what's changing are going to have drastic implications for the game. This will still feel like the game that we know and love. It's that it's going to have some different applications. This is not a 2.0, and I need to keep stressing that. It is not a completely different game. We're not going to calculate evade completely differently. We're not going to have shield arcs. We're not going to have a completely different scale of attack and defense. And
right. It is not a redesign. It's a tweak.
Yeah.
It's a revision.
And that means that everything that you possess is still potentially playable.
I think that the safest way to say is that everything that you currently have is still compatible.
Yes, it's still usable. Whether or not you want to play that because it's competitive,
that's up to you and the meta and what they release for content.
But, you know, all of that has always been a choice because the meta shifts. I mean, my goodness, Ferengi got run. The Kriechta got run at my last OP. Who would have thought? Now, we can question whether or not it did all that well. But
there are some pretty excellent Ferengi upgrades.
There are. Missile launchers was great. Right? My point is that different things can come out. And what I'm looking more forward to in this whole new set of things, it's not that, oh my goodness, we're getting new things. It's what can these new things do that make old things that we hadn't really used in either a long time or ever viable? What do they unlock in terms of strategy options that now we go, oh, yeah, that card that we never used, now all of a sudden that's playable.
Yeah.
Because that happens sometimes.
And all it takes is one card to completely change how you see other cards. Like if it opens the door a little bit or throws it wide open to say, okay, this card's usable again for this reason, and it now does all this, right? Like there's so many good cards that aren't quite there and nobody uses them because either it costs too much or like the action economy or the slot distribution doesn't quite work on the ships that they're best on. And one card coming out could unlock that last little bit and make it actually work the way that you want it to, or something new.
Yeah, I mean, it is completely possible that photon torpedoes become playable.
Yes, like all it took was Type 8s in order to make the 3 and 2 PWV ships a strong option. In some cases, better option than some of the higher ships.
Yeah, and we can question whether or not that's a great thing. That's probably another episode, another discussion.
Yes, well, that comes down to, okay, do they re-release it at retail or do they, release modifications that either make those not as strong? All sorts of options, and that's stuff that may come down the pipe.
Yes.
So we just have to stay tuned. Until we see this new content, it's all a guessing game.
You're absolutely
We
right.
we've got that wonderful hint at Origins with some of those spoilers, like the new data prize card and the
Hmm.
Shelby reprint and some of the card pack cards that we saw. And there's some pretty neat stuff there.
Well, and what I'm super excited about is all the templating.
Yes.
A switch to keywords
Mm-hmm.
that reduce some of the need for superfluous text.
Yes, and
Or
where they have a sentence that says something, and then another release comes out and they have a sentence worded completely differently that supposedly has the same effect exactly,
right.
but they use a
And
difference of words. Now it's more standardized.
and it drives actual lawyers and rules lawyers crazy. Because
Yes.
believe me, I talk with someone who's a lawyer, a real life lawyer,
Yep.
about the rules for this game. And it drives him crazy, and it drives me crazy. And you all know that Nick and I care very much for trying to figure out what's going on with the rules.
Absolutely, and even we get it wrong sometimes.
And we often can disagree on the rules,
Yes.
but we're reading the same card and we understand the same interpretations. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just, but the template and what the thing that gave me the most excitement was seeing range on a crew.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden now you have that, it's absolutely clear what it means, and you don't have to write within range 1 to 2. Like
Mm-hmm.
that just saves time.
Yeah.
And you kind of sit back and you go, well, they had that for secondary weapons. Why didn't they use that on crew and captains and all of that to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody thought of it.
Yeah.
They just didn't think to do that.
And it proves again that WizKids is taking that step back to really think about it, research how these things are working, why some of them aren't working, and try to streamline it so there's less issues. Like we should be spending 98% of our time just playing the game, and maybe 2% for just sort of figuring the odd thing out, so to speak, on the fly. We should not be like halting games or all this stuff. How does this work? No, oh no, it works this way. No, it works this way. They need to be clear on how it functionally, mechanically works. And the only thing that should be in interpretation and opinion based is how we implement them, how we combo them and use them in tandem with other cards. That's where our creativity comes in. It shouldn't be in rules interpretation.
Yeah.
Take the guesswork out of the game so we can spend more of the time just playing the game.
Whenever you have combos, you're always going to end up with some kind of weird, wacky rule
Mm-hmm.
interpretations. Like, there's
Oh, yeah.
always fringe cases.
Yeah. And
But
even
if we
WizKids
can,
has done a good curve on some of that.
yeah, if we can reduce even the fringe cases by half, it would be
Yes.
fantastic.
All in all, I would like it to be a more positive experience. That's
I
what I
think
want out of it all.
I think we all would,
Yes.
because the last thing
It,
we want is having to go and debate and spend this all
yeah.
this time yelling at each other, figuratively or literally. And
Mm-hmm. Friendly
and
debate is one thing, arguing is another.
yeah, because we've all had headaches and run away from the computer because it's just like, they're doing it again.
Yeah.
Why are these people being stupid? Somebody's wrong on the internet, must correct them.
One thing I want to address with the starter set, getting back to that, is given the titles, the unique names for the Klingon ships, it's very clear that they are brand new ships as far as
Yes.
like the cards. Now, given that the Enterprise D and the Sutherland already exist in one, if not multiple variants, especially like with regard to the Enterprise D, it is not clear whether or not those are going to be new abilities or anything like that. We can presume that they will be recosted, whether or not
Yes.
it's actually changed, but it may go by whatever new system slash formula or whatever they reasoning that they have. So in the very least, we will have modified of the original cards. In the very best, we'll get new personas of those ships with new abilities.
Okay, so here's my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
The Sutherland's its own case. I want to talk about the Enterprise.
Okay.
The Enterprise that we see in the starter, I believe, represents, say, season 1 of the
Yes.
Enterprise. The yesterday's Enterprise is
Mm-hmm.
more of a mid-series Enterprise D,
Yeah, like season 4 or something, like 3, 4
something
kind
like that. So it's possible.
of.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying probable. It's possible that we get that one. I don't think it's
Mm-hmm.
likely. I think we get a new Enterprise.
Yeah. I think the reason why I would agree with you on that is because the new version of the Enterprise D just came out this year. I don't see them re-releasing it that quickly.
Yeah.
Although that could be a new trend for prize ships, which I would certainly appreciate. Because, like I've said in the past, like I don't mind. In fact, I appreciate that a prize ship would be released at retail, as long as there's at least some buffer, so that if I win the ship and the cards in it, I can get at least exclusive use of it for a period of time. I don't think that exclusivity should stretch to forever.
Right.
I don't think that's right.
6 months, a year, whatever it be.
Exactly. In the past, I was thinking something like 18 months, but at the state of the game right now, I think that's too long. I'm thinking more 6 to 9 months, a year tops.
Right. Well, and I
Yeah.
would even be fine if they did uh 2 releases a year
Mm-hmm.
that said, "Hey, here's a card pack or a faction or a, a faction-esque pack for every
Right.
prize pack." But now going forward, we're looking at not ship packs for prizes, we're looking at individual cards. So
Mm-hmm.
that may be less worrisome.
Yeah.
And I think that is to put more of this unique stuff into the hands of everyone that can get it
Mm-hmm.
rather than the hands of competitive people.
Yeah, like
And
system
that's
upgrades,
healthy for
type
the game.
eights, all those lovely, awesome, cool, unique cards, non-unique cards that are in the OP kits. Re-release them in a retail pack that's similar or at least in the same vein.
Right. And you know what? Why not? I think all of those things could see the light of day in the upcoming card packs
Mm-hmm.
and retail packs.
Right.
It's certainly possible. Systems upgrade would make perfect sense in the start,
Yes.
but
Well, actually, well, it wouldn't really. Oh no, sorry, system upgrade. Yes, I was thinking type eights. Yeah, because they're all fours. But yeah, systems upgrade to get that tech slot and the extra shield boost would be a definite plus.
yes. So I highly think that the Enterprise would make sense to be completely new in the
Mm-hmm.
starter, and maybe even what doesn't make sense to me is to give us yet another version of Picard, Riker, Data, Troy, Beverly, Worf,
Mm-hmm.
Tasha. If Tasha's even there, Tasha may not be there. If this is Klingon Civil War time, it does not make sense for
Mm-hmm.
Tasha to be on the
Well,
D.
if
It actually
anything, I
doesn't make
think
sense for Worf.
Picard should be a Klingon card. Worf should be a Klingon card.
Yes.
Maybe give us Jellicoe if you want to throw a different Enterprise D captain in there.
Yeah. They might
Yeah,
give us
like
Riker as no, because
uh,
Riker's on the ambassador class during the Klingon Civil War.
yeah,
So they might just give us Picard on the D.
that's possible.
And that would actually be okay because why not?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. I would love to see a Klingon Picard as the Arbiter of Succession.
Or maybe another dual faction card. Have them either as a crew of dual faction,
Yeah.
or in the very least, put it like no penalty on Klingons or something.
That's what they might do.
Mm-hmm.
They might give us that. But I do think that because we've seen Worf, a lot of Worf
Mm-hmm.
cards, both factions.
Yeah.
We still need
Federation Klingon mirror.
yeah. We still need a Fed Captain Worf representing his time commanding the Defiant, but I don't think that that's
Yes.
coming soon.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we definitely need some revitalization in the DS9 era of things, right? And I think that would be a good opportunity to do that.
Yes.
How we get it might be through a faction pack or ship pack. Sorry, they might get it like a Defiant one, or get more variations on that, like maybe a independent Maquis version of the Defiant with Thomas Riker, and maybe they'll throw in Captain Worf or Captain Dax or something in there, right? Because she captained the Defiant as well.
Well,
Who knows?
It's interesting because they called this the starter set Federation versus Klingons.
Mm-hmm. So I have a feeling there's definitely going to be some Federation against Klingon, Klingon against Federation stuff. Not necessarily specifically this works against this faction, but it might be things that intrinsically work well against the things that are contained within those factions.
That's one aspect I actually wasn't going.
Could also be a buffer as well.
Sure. Where I was going with that is, I don't think this is the only starter set they have in the works.
Oh, I am completely with you on that one. Like, it screams, okay, we're going to get something else. Like, we might get a Cardassian Bajoran one. That would be cool. Pure conjecture.
I don't know that Bajorans have enough to do a starter, but
if that was the case, I would think it might be like a 5-ship pack where you might get a couple interceptors and a freighter or something like that with some neat like shenanigans, like with the Resistance.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Konma or something.
I think they could do a Delta Quadrant starter.
That would be something else. Oh yeah.
I don't know how you quite work it, but you could just call it the Star Trek Attack Wing Delta Quadrant starter set.
Yes, like I would love like Hirogen, maybe some better Vidian stuff.
Yeah, Hirogen, Vidian, Kazon, Borg.
Kazon could be interesting. A Kazon right. Voyager, there you go.
There you go.
I'll get some love and hate for that one. Yeah, Ferengian Independent.
Yeah.
There's so many things that can be done.
Yeah, and with the card packs coming. But so this starter set does explain why Romulan and Dominion got the first 2 faction packs.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna jump in again. A lot of people have been harping with the whole part in the quote where it says, pick up this out of this world starter set, crack it open and start exploring and battling in the Delta Quadrant with your friends today. And they're going, well, it's Federation and Klingon, and none of these ships had anything to do with the Delta Quadrant. So what if this is like a template oops, where one of the next starter sets is about the Delta Quadrant, and they just didn't change the word back to Alpha Quadrant or Beta Quadrant, technically. Beta, yeah. Right? So that might be a glimmer of hope. It might be just a red herring, but it's a little something for you.
I wouldn't put it past WizKids to give us that red herring, but I also wouldn't put it past them that they just missed it.
Well, yeah, like look at, was it Kuvak, the Vulcan that had the Dominion icon showing, or one of the ships that had a different silhouette, and those kind of oopses.
The assimilated like, Burrell.
Yeah, they use templates where they can like flip layers and stuff like that. It's pretty clear that's how they're doing it.
Yes.
And it's the wise way to do it, especially with how we do our custom cards.
Oh, yeah.
So with this sort of thing, it's like a form letter. Yeah, so it's entirely likely. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say I'm sure they use the same type of stuff. I would be shocked if they don't use like Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign to do a lot of their layout, or a similar editing software program.
Mm-hmm.
So Egyptian is saying in the comments he wants another Captain Core. I guess, but I want Koloth and Kang. Kang's got to come before another core.
Yeah, I don't think that would even be an option in this pack
No,
if they're going thematic to the Klingon Civil War,
which I think
which
they
they don't.
have to.
They don't always though. They have like a certain portion kind of dedicated to whatever theme they choose, and then the rest are kind of throw-ins or things that they think they need to put in to
Yeah,
flesh it out. Now, what we get, we'll see when we get it.
you're right,
You know, it's like the
but
prize pack doesn't always match the OP, right?
no,
Yeah.
but the starter, like the first starter set, was very tight knit.
Hmm.
Like there was nothing there that didn't fit the ship that it came on.
Oh, I know. I get that. I get that. And if anything, that's more reason to say you won't get another Captain Core, Kang, or Koloth, because they
Yeah,
didn't really enter the TNG era until Deep Space Nine.
and I think
And
they were saying just in general, but
yeah. So I'm going to have to wrap this up fairly soon. Any other things that we want to cover real quick? Anybody watching, listening that wants to throw in a quick question or two?
I'm not seeing much in the chat, but the chat is a little delayed to us talking.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird. I had a weird dream about a card last night, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like action increase your whole value by 2, um, but roll 2 less attack dice. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why would that actually be good? But it's bad, guys. I'm now dreaming about Star Trek Attack Wing card design.
Mm. I think it would be cool to have some other effective cards that reduce the attack dice of your attackers.
Of your attackers, yes.
Yeah, like that would be cool. Like it'd be another way of dealing with the whole dice stacking issue. Like yeah, you can have as many dice as the cards allow you to build up, but I'm going to have an option where I can at least soften the blow, right? Or maybe more cards that will help modify dice, like to your opponent. Like there's a lot of cards in the game that are designed to modify yours. There's not a lot that modify your opponents, and a lot of the ones that are there aren't necessarily very cost effective, if at all.
Well, yeah, because there's Sayla and the Hathaway Wharf, and
Mm-hmm.
those are okay, but they're actions. I think what we need is some kind of passive effect that
Yeah.
says, like,
Well, Worf is a disabled though, is he not?
I think he is.
Yeah. So if you've got a crew cycling deck or something like that, he can be very effective. Or any means where you get a free action to free up so you can re-enable him regularly.
Yeah, it's still, you
So
got
that
to
he's
build
more
them.
effective. Of course, but it's not as complicated or as costly as some of the other ones, and he does have multiple benefits in that line.
Yeah, he's a disable, ship rolls 1 less attack die, can't spend battle stations or target locks.
Yeah.
And you get to roll your full defense dice in spite of scans. But that's still, it's 5 point, and you got to have the full build, so it gets really pricey really quickly.
Yeah. Well, that's me, folks. I'm out.
All right, I'm going to
Thanks
hang
for
around for a
listening.
little bit.
All right. Take care,
So
everyone.
since we got like 14, thank you, Nick, for talking. Appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. I'll throw it out to chat. If anybody wants to come on board and hang out and actually be on chat, I will post a link here in the chat, and you can come on board. So yeah, Botero, the new starter set is up on the solicit page. It is not it's not like posted on whizkids.com or anything, but it is on solicits. Retailers can order it and do all of that. So Yeah, it's good progress. Yeah, that came out what day was that? Like Wednesday, I want to say. Tuesday or Wednesday that was announced. So I remember I like woke up, I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." It was probably the most excited I've been for Attack Wing since since Origins, but as far as like the excitement level I had for the game and for what's coming, that's a really good thing. Oh, yeah, sorry. The solicit page is something that stores get. You have to have a retailer account to be able to see the solicit page. So um, I will show you what that looks like. It's um, so on a normal account, you can see this find stores, tutorials, my events, leaderboards. But on a retailer account, you get solicits, and so solicit to see everything that's coming out, and like I can sort here by Star Trek Attack Wing, and if I sort by releases, this shows me everything that's coming out. So yeah, that's how I see Wave 1 card packs coming in September, Wave 2 in November, the monthly OP kits. We actually have a date on the first one, August 30th, ship date. Romulan and Dominion faction packs in September. Then that's starter set. So that's that. I don't buy the date on Wave 3 card packs at this point. Um, yeah. So that's how the solicit page works. Well, so the way that WizKids does their public announcements is typically like right before they release things, they'll put stuff up. It's not a matter of they don't announce things like way early. They sometimes they do, but typically it's like the within the month of it coming out. Or within a month of it coming out. And then that's where you get the StarTrek.com article about it. What the solicit page does is it allows stores to order stuff to talk to people about it. And then for people like me who has access to the store account, because I used to run events and stuff like that, to be able to discuss things and to generate the hype, and in some ways to do WizKids' job for them. Like, not, and I don't mean that in a snarky way or anything, but companies often rely on their communities, on their media people, um, and not their official media people, but their fans to generate hype, and that's how companies do work. And I'm happy to be one of those guys. Um, okay, so Robert, should you sell all of your ships to get better ones? I don't think so. And here's why. If you sell everything, then you're going to run out of cards to support what's going on. I Nick and I were kind of talking about this. I think that the new stuff that's going to come out, the ships are going to be cheaper, and that's going to bug people, right? So like we already know that the prototype 02 is going to be cheaper than the prototype 01, but it has a different effect. And even the new Raptor class, it has a different effect. The Dreadnought is a point cheaper, and it's better than the old Dreadnought. Uh, but again, it's a different effect. And the cards that are coming out. Um, so so I don't know. Oh, are you talking about like the Reliant? The Reliant was Wave 0 and then it's getting a reprint. It just got a reprint that came out in like Wave 30 or something and now it's metallic and shiny. If you're talking about that, I mean that's all just paint. So uh, that like that's all personal preference. I don't know. I just buy more because like especially with the Reliant, you just want more followers of Con and more I stab at these because that's just fun to me. But going back to what I was saying about cheaper ships, I think that's where it stops. I think it's only the ships that are really getting the discounts. You still need old stuff to have those playable combos. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll circle back. Um, after I finish this point, what I think is going to happen more is that all the people that are working on this understand where the game is, they have a vision for where they want it to go. And that is going to incorporate things that exist in the game now. I think if you were to sell everything and only buy new stuff, you'd be lacking a lot of important releases. Plus, at the end of the day, isn't it a Star Trek game? And isn't having the ability to replicate games or replicate battles or create your own battles worth something in and of itself? Uh, that's how I view it. Maybe I'm different. So, when it comes to new rules, the new rules are not making anything that exists in the game obsolete. They are um, they are keeping everything compatible. The competitiveness of things might change, but the competitiveness of releases has always fluctuated. It's not a matter of, oh, well, is the Equinox going to stay as a competitive ship? It might, but you know what? The Equinox wasn't even in the top 4 of nationals or worlds this year. That doesn't make it a bad ship. It just wasn't something that was run. Uh, whereas it was second place last year at Worlds. So things are cyclical. Um, the rules alter the game. And I think they will alter the game. I think we're going to see a lot of different things happen with the new rules. To what extent, I don't know. So the Olympic class has some very interesting applications. And if I had qualified for Worlds, and I think you guys have probably heard enough of my tale of horror, and it really is a tale of horror. Uh, I was going to run the Olympic class in Worlds, and I was going to run Quark's Treasure in Worlds, and I was going to run the Denorius in Worlds. Like, that was my build. I was going to have 4 total attack dice. So, so Botero, you may not see it, but there was a purpose to the build. Uh, and the reason I'm not going to discuss more about it is that it's not my build. It's a build that was designed by Robert Fletcher, who helped design the Blink fleet that I ran at Nationals. And without me running it, it's still something that's nice and secret that we're gonna keep under wraps for now. But I say as much as I say, just to throw out that there is a use for that ship in competitive play, in the highest level of competitive play. And it would have scared people with what it could do. So I know that's weird, and I don't throw that out there, but if you guys know enough about what I throw out on this channel, and that I do enjoy having fun, but I also enjoy being highly competitive. Uh, for me to say that I would have been comfortable running the Bajoran Lightship, a Mirror Federation medical vessel, and a shuttle at Worlds, and I legitimately think that I would have had a chance to win, at least go top 4, it means something. And yeah, Botero, you're right. Not every ship can be top level. Otherwise, there is no top level. You just have everything sitting in a middle ground. What would be nice is that if every ship, or almost every ship, had the capacity to be played in such a way that you could have competitive things. And I think we're getting closer to that, but I still don't have a great way of playing Romulan Daedaric ships. And to be honest, I don't think anybody else does, because I don't think I saw a single Daedarics be played at Origins as a whole. Forget Nationals Origins, but side events included. Granted, I was not watching every single side event, but I don't believe any were played. And they are probably the ship that has been produced the most in this game. But yeah, this is all what this is all circling back to is knowing that a new starter is coming, knowing that faction packs are coming. A lot of new content is going to hit this game. I absolutely believe that this game is going to see some growth because it's Star Trek. There will be more interest in it now than there has been at any point in the last 2 years. Now, maybe that's not saying a ton, but I think it's saying something. Perhaps the peak of this game was in the first year, because we had a lot of really good people that played this game and now don't play the game. But you know what? That's a reality of life. What we have left now is a really dedicated community. And I see people in the comments here, and I see the people that are responsible for 2 of the biggest YouTube channels, and then myself. So probably the 3 biggest YouTubers about Star Trek Attack Wing. Now, uh, True Flight Silverwing is not here, and perhaps he should be there. But when I have the original State of the Federation guy, when I have Wandering In Studios, and then you have the Shipyard, I think that means something. Those channels carry some weight. And there's something there. This community is still growing. Like, Will, I know you're not. Um, I know you're not involved in the game like you once were, but I know that Tucker has taken over State of the Federation, made it State of the Federation the next generation, and it's it's there. It's growing, and good things. Yeah, Terry is out, but she did come by the Star Trek stuff at Origins, and she took some pictures. I got a picture with her, and she is fantastic. She is such a bundle of joy, and she loved seeing what was going on. I was able to show her a picture of the Sherlock data, and she got this huge grin on her face, and she was like, "Yay!" Uh, so like she cares, she absolutely cares, but she just doesn't have the time. She doesn't have the time to keep up with the game. Um, but right now you have Star Trek fans that are left, and I truly believe that Star Trek fans are some of the most passionate, some of the most caring people that are out there, and I really do embrace IDIC, infinite diversity and infinite combinations, and the response rate I saw to the first giveaway that I did on this channel with the Enterprise E STO code, uh, to see the channel growth here of almost 100 subscribers, like that's amazing to me. Like I went from approaching 700 to now approaching almost 800, and this thing's going to grow. WizKids is going to drop new content, and the ship the shipyard's going to hit 1,000 subscribers, and we're going to be based basically on one game. The shipyard's going to diversify a little bit, go more into some board gaming stuff, but it's still always going to be a Star Trek Darkwing channel. And you guys keep me going. So yeah, new starter. It's going to be a ton of potential, and it's going to bring new people in, because when you're selling a starter that's 4 years old, you have a tough time saying, oh yeah, this is what came out, but oh, by the way, there's all this stuff you need to kind of realize in order to do stuff. And to have a new starter, to have kind of a new starting point and say, hey, pick up a starter. Now you can play Fed versus Klingon right off the bat. And then it's like, oh, you want some Romulans? Well, here, pick up this Romulan faction pack. And you can do that for $75 retail. That's a no-brainer. And if you want to throw Dominion into the mix, now you can do that for just over $100. In fact, if I'm a retailer and somebody was willing to buy a starter and 2 faction packs, you probably knock $5 off the deal and give it to them for 100. I don't know. Your retailer may vary, but that seems like a reasonable thing to me. That's 105 MSRP. But uh, just a thought there. That's a pretty good deal to wind up with 12 ships and a lot of cards for $100. Plus templates, dice, everything you need to play. It's a good time. It's a good time to be a Star Trek gamer. We'll think about it. And maybe Discovery does wonders and I hope it does. But if it does wonders, I think we're going to see some Discovery tie-ins, and that will bring even more people into Star Trek Attack Wing. But yeah, and if your local gaming stores stop carrying it, like I know a lot have, you can always ask them to special order stuff. It may take them some time to get it in because they would probably need uh, to get enough to do an order, because a lot of distributors need a certain dollar amount to do an order. But a lot of them, a lot of stores are willing to do special orders for their customers. It's always a thought. It never hurts to ask. And yeah. And yeah, Egyptian, you mentioned Star Trek Adventures. It's coming out. I'm going to do stuff on the channel for it. Geek and Sundry started uh, doing the show on Wednesday night Pacific time. They start at like 9:30, something like that. I forget the exact time, but they're definitely rolling by 10 p.m. Pacific. That I know that's terrible on East Coast, or worse on Europe people, but they're they're doing that, and it is a great. It's a really enjoyable cast, and they've got a great story that they're dealing. They're dealing with the same people as Sirna Kolrami. Like that's kind of their protagonist right now. So uh, yeah, so the new starter is due in October. It is. They don't have a date on it yet, but hopefully it's more beginning October, of October. But somehow I view October as end of October, and then more like a November release. But it could be early October, and we go from there. So yeah, I uh, I think this has kind of reached a natural end, even though chat's been busy. You guys are doing a great job, but oh yeah, Modifius did do a great job with adventures. Like the PDF is fantastic. I'm still chewing through it. It's a great system. It's a super fun system. I haven't done a lot with role play games, but just the system that they've laid out makes it pretty. It makes it easy for people to get into it. It gives the GMs a lot of flexibility, and and best of all, you can choose to pass a test even if your dice fail you. But in doing so, you give the GM some bonus like threat that they can use to complicate things later. So you can say, hey, this test is really important. Like, uh, oh, the comms on the fritz. Well, we really need to get it to work. Okay, that's fine. We can make it work. But now the GM can do stuff later. That's fine. And there's no like stupid rules about you got to check every little thing. Oh you're trying to walk down the corridor. Roll for that. Oh, you rolled a 20 because 20s are bad in this system and ones are good. Oh, you rolled a 20. You tripped. You fell. You broke your arm. Nobody's doing that. Yeah, and I haven't delved into enough of the campaign to answer like super specific questions, Will. But at some point we'll talk because I read your post about Pathfinder and stupid GMs. Uh, I promise you guys, I am not a stupid GM. I I believe in allowing the players to have fun and having them roll dice to let them have fun. Sometimes complicating stuff is good. You mess with them, but that just makes them be more creative and tell better stories. But beyond that, it's about how can you tell good stories. And yes, sometimes critical failures tell good stories, but you don't want a critical failure to be death. Like, that's not a good story. Oh yeah, I died. I rolled a 20 and I died. Oh, I rolled a 1 and I got out of a death defying situation. That's a good story. But yeah, the 20 should be, well, they captured me and now we got to figure out how to get me out. Like, that kind of stuff, that tells good stories. And there is a time for death in Star Trek. Like, characters die. That's fine. But as a GM, like, my philosophy is you don't kill off a character unless you kind of had a conversation with the person playing it, if they're okay with their character dying at some point. And you definitely don't kill somebody off really early on. Sometimes stuff happens. Like, if somebody rolls 5 critical failures in a row during combat, you kind of go, well, eh, it's going to be bad. But you use it to tell stories. And uh, and that's what Star Trek's always been for me. How can you tell stories? How can you put people in situations that they might not normally encounter and see what they want to do? And yeah, Chris, you're right. You can't kill 3 players a game, and you also can't kill the same person 3 times in a game. When they go and they roll a new character or make up a new character that they get attached to because they've invested in this, and then bam, it's just it's not fun. And guess what? If your players aren't having fun, they're not going to come back in game with you anymore. And all of a sudden you realize that the most precious commodity you have as a GM are your players. And that's something you have to weigh. So yeah, so I have never GM'd before. I think I've mentioned this on a previous hangout, but my philosophy is it's a Star Trek role play game. I probably make the most sense to be in one of 2 situations, either the captain or the GM. And without another experienced GM around, it makes sense for me to be the GM. Now, if somebody else feels comfortable taking the reins of GM, I'm happy to step aside and become the captain or science officer or chief engineer or whatever the situation may be. Because again, it's all about having fun. And in doing so, it's just, yeah, you can't force action. You have to just let things happen to players. And the best moments in all of role playing come out of the unexpected, the unplanned. And yes, at some point, so this is the aside. Uh, at some point, everyone associated with the shipyard is going to get ranks. I don't know what all that means, but I'm taking on the 5 bar admiral or the 5 pip admiral just because I run this show. After that, like everybody else is getting ranks, and it just makes more sense. And then people move up the ranks, and it'll be fun. And yes, I guess, Will, if you want to be a red shirt on this channel, you can be a red shirt. I promise not to kill anybody off, really. I Again, it's not fun. Uh, oh, Will, you are a genius. I will be the French Marshal because nobody beats the French Marshal or the French Marshal. Yeah, Egyptian. That is a good thing and good advice. It's say yes or roll dice. It's all about. It's kind of the same rules as improv. It's you want to say yes, and if you can't say yes, and this is where GMing differs. It's if you can't say yes, then it's okay. Go ahead, roll the dice. You want to try to do that? Go, go. Try to make that happen. And yeah, so I would definitely be talking to people and getting advice because my whole life philosophy has been I want to try to figure it out, but I know that I'm not the smartest person at, well, basically anything. So when I can't, I ask people who know more than me, and if they don't know, I'll look stuff up. I'll always look stuff up, but sometimes it's great to talk to people who know what's going on because they share their experiences and they share things that they've learned along the way. And sometimes I can benefit from mistakes that they've made or lessons that they've learned, and that saves time. uh, oh yeah, well, I will be watching. I'll be looking back on Q's lines for a lot of things, because the brilliance is we're filming this, we're putting it online. You guys get to kind of play along with us, uh, and as I've said, I will probably be running a second campaign for online people, and we're going to figure out the details of that, and more so who's involved. But if you want to be involved, go ahead and message me, and we'll talk. Like uh, we will figure stuff out. I'm thinking the setting I want to do is probably post Nemesis. I know that's not necessarily where Modifius has it planned, but you can change the setting and you can do whatever you want in terms of a setting. Uh, but I know more like extra fluff in terms of post Nemesis stuff. Plus, there's so much out there that we can just kind of go wherever we want, and we don't have to follow any existing timeline stuff. Uh, the thing I always worry about in terms of doing what Geek and Sundry is doing, which is like right after the Klingons withdraw from the Khitomer Accords, is you're in a really tight timeline. Like this is leading into so many things. This is the like into this is right after Generations. This is like DS9, the Klingon invasion of DS9 timeline, the start of the Dominion War. Like this is all really interesting stuff, but you are hitting into uh, you're hitting events that have to happen, and you can't really change history. I mean, you can go through a wormhole, you can rewrite history, you can do whatever you want, but in order to stay kind of relevant, you need to stick with things. Yeah, and you know what? Timelines is actually a really cool storyline. It really is. You know, Q can interfere, and all of a sudden we just go and do something, and then we're trying to restore the timeline, as it were. But I like the idea of post Nemesis work, and we go from there. But there's always like, hey, we're gonna do a 5 session side mission, and like that's just a little small adventure, and that's that. And it doesn't have to be this huge ongoing campaign. Um, and we might start with stuff like that, and then kind of to get our feet wet, and then we go off and we start like a big, expansive campaign. Um, that's a brilliant. That would be a brilliant campaign, Egyptian. Uh, oh, that's a cool one, Botero. Yeah, so like I've read the Titan series, most of it, not all of it, but I really like the adventures that Titan gets up to. And so I was thinking uh, similar adventures to Titan, on a what class are they? Whatever class Titan is. But that series, that kind of a ship, that would be a really interesting way to go at things. Oh, Terran Empire would be fantastic. Like, that whole universe is dark, but it would be space pirates, and it would be, you would have people having a blast with that because it's so different to what you're used to in all of Star Trek. But then every once in a while you would have the main universe coming in and mucking about with everything that you do, and you're like, but wait, are you saying I'd have to shave my beard down to a goatee for this? I'm not sure I can do that. we, we'll talk. But yeah, we can have the Borg come in, and you know about the Mirror Universe Borg. They shoot first and assimilate, and then they talk. But they just come in, and they don't. They're not passive. They don't wait for you to make a move. They view everyone as a threat first. See, now you guys are going to give me all these amazing ideas, and I'm going to want to run every single one of these campaigns. So what I may what I may do, and I might be crazy for doing this, but okay. If we have enough interest, I'm willing to take other people on as GMs, and you guys can use the shipyard and run campaigns with set crew. Only caveat would be that you'd have to actually air games on the shipyard, and we'll talk. We'll work stuff out. But like, if somebody wants to run a Klingon undiscovered country campaign, like, that would be fantastic. I'm not the right guy to do that, but somebody can do that. Uh, and yeah. See, this is why I'm excited. This is the kind of stuff that goes, oh, this is work, but this is amazing. This is like, this is what gets me energized. This is like, yes, 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 yes. All right. Uh, you guys have no idea what that thought does for me, because this is what I've always envisioned for the shipyard. It's, yeah, sure, I'm the admiral. I'm the guy that does stuff. But I'm not the only one. Like, the shipyard is more than David. It is not just me. It's why I've got Alan doing painting. It's why I've got John doing would be nices. It's why Dave Griffin does missions. It's all this stuff that has other people involved and invested in the success of the channel. It keeps people doing it. And a shipyard is more than one person. Yeah, one person kind of oversees it, but a shipyard, multiple people come in, they stay for a bit, then they leave, and other people come in and they work, and that whole notion of a shipyard is that you've got a place where people can come and enjoy what's going on and hang out as long as they want and then leave. And there's something for everyone. Does that mean you like every single thing that goes on at a shipyard? No, no, not at all. But hopefully you'll enjoy something. There's a reason for you to show up. And then you go off and you do something else. Like, I get it. I get that there's so many forms of entertainment today. Like, it makes sense. And yeah, Chris, you're absolutely right. YouTube wants an episode every day, and uh, I've been able to do that. It's crazy. I'm crazy, but I've been able to do that as long as I have my voice, and you can still hear a little bit of it. My voice is not quite what it was, and I just lost it during the convention. I thought I was okay, and then it went out on me like a couple of days into the week, and I was just like, ugh. But it's mostly back. It's essentially back. It's back enough. I mean, what hurts now is being talking for like 2 hours, but it's fun. Like I love the live chats. Like, this is what's worth it for me. Uh, no, see what gets me is conventions. I'm not used to, and I don't know that anyone ever truly is, but talking at a volume loud enough for convention hearing, and especially teaching and stuff like that. Um, and doing it for 2 days straight. Like, that's what hit me last weekend. And like I've been talking to people, like I'd love to get somebody to do Eagle Moss videos for the Star Trek ships. But and like I even thought about getting them, but and they're gorgeous. But there's two things. One, I don't have the money, and two, I don't have the space. So like if I can get some more Patreon people, like I would love to go into that line, but we'll see. That's not me begging for money. That's just saying, oh yeah, hey, by the way. um it's options. It's totally options. And hey, like I'd even love for somebody to come on board and do Star Trek Online videos, because that would be um that would be really cool too. But there's Star Trek Online content out there on YouTube. Like I don't have to have everything. And yeah, the subscription would be crazy. But yeah, even if somebody came on board every once in a while and said like, "Hey, uh, hey, here's a ship. Like, and this is a cool ship. Let me show you what's going on." Like that would be an awesome way to just show off some of those models. And like, I'm totally on board with people doing stuff like that. So um, I throw that out there. If like I've put it out there. If somebody is interested in doing any kind of content for the shipyard, all you got to do is talk to me and say, "Hey, I've got this idea. I'd love to do this. What do you think?" And for the most part, it'll be, "Hey, do a video. Let me know." or let me watch it, and I'll let you know what I think. For the most part, we'll put it up because I want to see it. I want to see the content, and we'll take a look at what the numbers do, because like I'm not too worried about the numbers. That's not been my huge focus. Like the numbers are always easy to look at, but uh, I care about fan interaction. I care if people are enjoying themselves, if they want to come back, if they're getting something out of it. But um, if one person likes what's going on, then it's worthwhile. Uh, That's a matter of fact. If what I do brought joy, brought enjoyment to one person, it would be worth it. And clearly, from multiple people sitting in the chat, you guys are telling me right now this chat is worthwhile. So that's something to me. And that's why I'm still here. So, uh, and yeah, Chris, you're right. Collaboration content is fantastic. You and I have done some stuff, and it's a blast. Like I love being Admiral Montgomery on the campaign, and it's been fun stuff because I fit into that role really well. I love being the guy behind the desk and issuing orders, barking orders at the captains who just can't do their jobs. You guys got to do better. Uh, uh, guys, go check out the Wandering Inn Studios, Captain Stu's campaign, and Captain Clark and Vax's shipyard. I can't do the voices, but uh, yeah, we are absolutely stronger together as a community, as people who love Star Trek, as people who love gaming, as everyone who's invested with what we do. All of that is we're better together than we are apart, and I believe that it's I'd rather work together with people on something that gets almost no views than do something by myself that gets thousands. That's the reality. Uh, all right. Well, I think I am going to call it here. I do need to take care of some stuff. It's almost 5, and I've done nothing all day. So, uh, thank you guys for hanging out. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. It's been an hour and a half almost talking, and and you guys are awesome. You really are. So thank you. We will continue to talk. We will continue to do these hangouts. It's July. I have recorded content for this week, so the shipyard will be back up and running at full strength this week ahead. So um, fear not for that. Um, and until next time, we will see you around the shipyard. Take care, guys.